Okay, there he comes. We'll call this joint meeting to order here. It's May 22nd, 2020, and let the record show that all three commissioners is here. And Mike, I'll let you do the roll call on the council.
Let the record show that all 7 council members are present.
Good morning, everybody. First up on the agenda here this morning, and this is a chance for the council and commissioners to get together and work on some issues that I think we need to get some kind of clarification to. And the first thing up here this morning is the COVID-19 emergency family medical leave and emergency sick leave policy. And we know right now that Indiana is certainly trying to open back up, and well, all 50 states are. But with that being said, we also know that at any time we could have to go back into some kind of lockdown or quarantine or whatever you want to call it. And I think we just need to. We kind of got blindsided when it first come about, and I think we just need something more concrete and what our employees is going to know and expect, and we just need to do something on some kind of medical leave and emergency leave. And what, Tammy, you got
These are in response to the federal posters that are up in our county buildings now. Wagner, Irwin, and Shealy had sent this to their clients. Bob Houston had recommended that I go to Michelle, maternal health department director, and get updated symptoms, because obviously this has been going on for a few weeks and things have morphed just a little bit. So she provided, the only thing I have done in addition to what Irwin's office has done is add some more current COVID-19 symptoms to this. But again, this is adherence to what federal standards are for family medical leave changes, and this is only in effect through December the 31st. So the federal has put a limit on these particular type situations as well. And these are, again, our posters that we've had to by law post up in all the buildings, and that's in here now. This is just the policy that the county has to adopt to extend these for the federal guidelines.
So this is basically not a replica, but designed for the federal government.
Yes, yes.
Passed down to us, we
To
pass
adopt.
down to our employees.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And as you can see, it takes both boards' actions.
Yeah. Well, I just want to make sure what we're doing. It's basically a federal government issue.
Correct.
We have to adopt it also, and we need to let our employees know their rights.
Yes, and those have been posted, but this is the policy to back up the posters.
Okay.
and this policy here was drawn up by Wagner, Irwin, and
Yes.
Shealy.
Do you have a copy of that right now?
Oh, sorry, did I not put that on that sheet? I think.
Right behind.
Oh, it's right. You said it, Chair, I didn't have one.
Do we want to take a moment and read this individually? We want to read this all together out and go through it, or what do you want to do? What's your pleasure here at this point?
I would just like to say, is this, even though it's a federal policy we have to adopt, does it give us any leeway anywhere in this where we can say yes or no to something? I mean, if there's something we have leeway about, we need to know about that.
It's a federal regulation, it's just like your minimum wage law or anything else. This has been.
It's a shall, not a may.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
all right.
And if anybody wants to take a look at this, that's what goes up. There's a guideline for the federal employees, and then there's one, but I posted both. And this is the one you really need, because that
It's
one's
not the
federal.
same thing?
You know how the federal government has different rules for federal employees versus
Yes.
the max. That's a federal copy, and that's a regular, everybody else,
Okay,
yes.
all
yes.
right.
So this is the governing policy if we adopt this.
This is to be adopted in accordance with compliance with federal law. this is where we're at with
Well,
this. Yes.
but we can't override federal law.
No.
So this is the governing policy if we adopt it.
This puts us in compliance with federal law.
What we're really considering was what was in the handout here this morning.
Yes, that COVID, the COVID emergency family medical leave.
And this would be a temporary addition to the handbook?
For FMLA.
Yes.
Yes.
And who developed this? Who?
The federal government, Kent Irwin's office put this on paper, but it was based on the federal government's
But
policy.
this document, which is gonna be the change to the handbook, was presented to us by WIS.
And it's a little probably change to the handbook. This is just a temporary policy, an addendum to the handbook till December
I
31st.
understand, and Kent Irwin's,
Pin that, yes, their office sent that to their clients.
okay,
Yes,
okay,
yes, saying you need to adopt these policies.
okay, and that's their recommendation?
Yes.
Okay, this is a recommendation of Wagner, Irwin, and Shealy,
Yes.
and
That
the
is-
attorneys have seen it,
I sent that to Bob Houston.
okay.
And
Do we have a reply from him?
He asked me to get in touch with Michelle and make sure that the symptoms were up, to let her review it for the COVID symptoms part. She relayed a few additional symptoms to me to update the document, because this was sent out like 2 or 3 weeks ago probably from Kent Irwin's office. And so she did, and I added those additional COVID symptoms to this. That's the only thing I have added to this document or changed from the situation that he sent it in, the condition he sent it to me in.
Okay,
Yes.
and so everybody that's supposed to say amen has said amen but us,
Exactly.
okay?
And I wanted to bring it today because I've got everybody together and I need signatures from both boards if you so moved.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, Frank.
I do have a question.
Okay.
Employees eligible, it starts out, says employees of private sector employees fewer than 500, and then it goes on and says certain public sector employees are eligible.
You would have to delve deeper into the federal
Yeah.
law that poster is based on. I can't answer the federal
Oh,
law.
and I understand that, that's where Bob Houston needs to help us, and I mean, I think we have to do this,
But this,
but that is ambiguous. Certain public sector employees are eligible.
well, this was put out, as you can see, by the federal
Yeah.
people. Okay, so I have no understanding beyond
Yeah.
what that is. I think what happens is you have these policies. If you get a person in one of these situations, then you can seek further guidance from the Department of, whoever, the Department of Labor, Wage and Hour, whoever it is, for the additional FMLA criteria. It's, again, one of those things where it's a case-by-case basis. They try to cover as much as they can in one simple poster, but nobody's situation is exactly alike every time, so.
Yeah, I'm getting the impression that this is something we need to do,
It's,
but
I
it
feel
does
it's
leave a little bit
necessary.
open-ended on what happens to certain.
Yeah,
I'm
this is
sorry?
a,
Well, I think so, but it doesn't give us our answers, I don't think, when it says certain public sector employees, that doesn't,
I think.
Who's that gonna be?
I think it covers anybody that's sending tax dollars to the federal government, so. You got a wage, and you're getting a wage from somebody, you're sending money to the federal government, then this covers you.
hey, you're probably right, but that is not what I'm seeing, when it says certain public sector employees.
Where you seeing
That
that
doesn't
at?
include everybody.
Oh, you're on,
he's looking at the.
you're on the
federal
other,
poster.
you're on the
Yeah.
flyer,
He's
yes.
looking at the poster, yeah.
Which I don't even know, may not even be on this, I don't know.
It's not on this here, that I can find.
But I'll be happy to let everybody see it, right here, I'll start with mine.
I could make a copy of that for everybody to see, but it's,
Here's where I'm, right here.
Eligible employees in general, employees,
Private.
private sector employers. Well, I think private sector employers would be,
Would that be contracted people?
Well, when it goes on past the private, it goes to certain public, that's where I have my concern.
I think private sector could be anybody like a construction, small construction company or somebody like that. And not a factory or somebody that's big conglomerate, so it'd be like Joe Blow's construction company, they're probably not covered because, you know,
Well,
right,
Well,
yeah,
like
he
a
right involved in
public
the same
defender
guidelines.
is a contract person.
Well, tell me if I'm wrong, private sector won't be our issue.
No, it's,
The certain public sector would be.
But a poster can't give the details that the
I get it.
that the federal
I
law
get it.
has. This is not going to give the details probably the federal law has. This is your adherence to federal law.
And I'm all for
As a
that, but
matter of
I just
point.
believe they left us with,
Well,
Big
these
what if.
documents are gonna cover.
we're gonna pass that out to employees, and they think they're gonna be covered with all this stuff, and they're gonna look at that and go,
No, the poster's out there for employees, it has been for weeks. This is what I respond to, this is what I have as guidance to go in these situations and then go deeper if we have to
Okay.
into more specific situations.
I think bottom line is that it covers anyone that, for instance, if you, and I've had to do this twice in my company, that I sent somebody home and they went, or two of them were on FMLA. You can't refuse that.
No.
You can't take their job, they can stay and get out as long as they want, you cannot affect their job when they want to return, so.
One thing that, on page 3 of this, and again, this was sent to us by, Ken Irwin, again, under the federal guidelines, correct?
Yes.
So I'm assuming here that this is a federal document, for the federal standards. And, we talked about this the other night, and Mike, you alluded to this. But what I'm reading right here, employees not tested for COVID-19, coronavirus, must have had no fever for at least 72 hours without the use of medication or medicine that reduces fever. Other symptoms must have improved, and they must have at least 7 days since the employee's symptoms first appeared. Now, the next paragraph, if they've been tested for COVID-19, then they must not have had a fever without the use of medicine that reduces fever. The other symptoms must have improved, and they have to receive 2 negative tests in a row, 24 hours apart. So if they've been tested, we have an employee that's been tested, the way I'm reading that, and correct me if I'm wrong, that is tested positive, that they cannot come back to work after 72 hours of fever-free. They have to, by this, it says that they have to have 2 negative tests in a row, 24 hours apart.
I have an issue with that paragraph there, or that statement, for the fact that nowhere in the state of Indiana are you gonna get somebody to give you 2 more tests.
See, that's what
And that's why the state numbers, if you'll see the state numbers, and they say how many people's been tested, how many people's tested positive, it never gives you people that have recovered. And I asked that question to the state, and I've asked it to Michelle as well, and she said the reason being is that the state is not going back and testing people 2 more times to verify that they don't have it because of the cost of the test. They're just waiting for the symptoms to disappear, and then but that's how and why there's not a number on that. Okay, and for this to say that if someone tests positive, that they have to have two negative tests to come back to work, I mean, that's almost supersedes what the state's even doing.
The only problem is I think, and I agree with you, I think that, I know exactly what you're saying, but the only problem is with this is a federally mandated document that 10 people's getting ready to put their name on, and then at that point, if you do not follow the federal standards, my thought is what's the liability for the county if the person in fact is not over the coronavirus and they spread it to somebody
Does the
else?
health department have tests?
No. Well, they do give the
So we have
test.
county employees that got sick, they would have access to tests to comply.
Yeah. So that may be ours, as far as in the public sector, it might be our saving grace where a place of private business wouldn't have that. So, but they would have to have 2 tests before they could come back. Is what the federal guidelines are saying.
Well, actually, I've had an employee that's tested positive, and he didn't do that. I mean, he stayed off 14 days, plus, actually, it's 14 days, and his doctor said take 5 more. He took 14 plus 5 and came back to work, had another test taken.
Okay.
And he's being paid all this time.
He was being paid all the time. And actually, his co-driver was paid as well. He didn't have any type of symptoms. because he had proximity to him, we put him off.
So I can imagine 2 tests be more expensive than 15 days pay.
That test, I think, is $200, is what I'm understanding, the average range of that test, about $200, so.
Well, the way I understand it, this document was sent to us by our HR firm to put us in compliance with federal guidelines, and we need to adopt it, I believe.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm seeing here, was,
Should we do that at 2 boards or do it all at once? No.
We probably take 2 votes.
it, and at the, on the back page, that's basically what it says here, is it's gonna be, 2 different places, and it'll say it's passed and adopted by the Board of Commissioners by a vote, and then the same thing on the council, so. If there's any, not any more questions or discussion about it, then, I mean, myself, I'm ready to act upon this, and on the Board of Commissioners' part, I would entertain a motion to adopt the policy as it's been presented to us.
And I'll make that motion to adopt COVID-19 emergency family medical leave and emergency sick leave policies for Scott County, right?
Yes.
I'll say that.
All right, let the record show that John made the motion to adopt, Mike second, and I'll make it unanimous on the part of the Board of Commissioners.
Okay, on the part of the County Council Board, we're open for a motion, but Robert Peacock motions to accept COVID-19 emergency family medical leave and emergency sick leave policies for Scott County. Do we have a second?
I'll say.
Have one second. Any more questions or discussion about the motion? All in favor? Motion carried 7-0.
Thank you very much, and I'll get signatures on
Yeah, Robert.
All right.
We got one we need to sign, or is it
it.
back?
If you wanna sign bonds, you can, if you wanna sign it, and then I'll write the votes in later.
Next up is pandemic discussion. What do you do?
Concerning what?
Just, if anybody had anything to say, I just left it open, so if anybody had.
I just, you know, we have, correct me, but I think basically our vote was to keep the county government at limited use until June 1st, is that correct?
Yeah, well, we, at this point, because the city of Austin, city of Scottsburg is pretty well limited to the first day of June. That's what we will do is, just as we're doing now, till June the 1st, and I think it was an agreement at the commissioners meeting on June 1st at 8:30 in the morning. We will open back up. We have, Tammy's got a thing that's going to go out. Basically, we are going to encourage the use of masks in the courthouse. Recommend them, highly recommend them, especially in situations where they can't be 6 foot apart. That's for our employees and the public. You know, most of our offices, and Tammy's and Marty's office downstairs too, is right now is having glass installed. So, you know, if they're on this side of the glass and the public's on the other, then they're certainly not going to probably be or have to have the mask on. But when you go out in the hallway or whatever, it might be a good thing to have one and just slide it on, whatever you want to do. Again, we put the signs in the floors that shows people 6 feet apart. Limit the number of people that comes into the offices to, I think yours is 2 people in it at a time, and that way they can be 6 foot apart, and the rest of them can stand out in the hallway and be 6 foot apart. If it gets too full, then we'll ask the security to just ask people to please wait outside until somebody comes out. Again, and we kind of run into this situation, and it was the Board of Commissioners' thoughts. If you are an employee and you are somebody in your family has been tested positive, or a close friend and you've been in close contact with them, we said that we are going to require that they tell their immediate supervisor. Their department head they have to know that. And at that point, this is not about, again, they're covered under what we just signed there. It's not about trying to terminate somebody. It's about trying to keep everybody healthy. And at that point, you would be asked to be off at least the 72 hours where you're fever free or whatever. But again, that will be a requirement that you tell your immediate supervisor that, hey, I've got a family member I've been around, I've got a close personal friend. As soon as they know it, they have to fess up here. I think that's just the right thing to do. I think they've got to.
And also, the security officer will be temperature testing everybody.
Yes.
Employees included.
Yes,
Right?
and if it comes
Everybody
in,
walking this door will be tested if they, what, over 74 degrees? 100
it's 100.4. If they have a temperature,
yeah.
if it's over 100 point, if you come in there and you've got a temperature of 100.5, you will not be allowed to come in. They will
And the
put
testing,
you outside.
testing was supplied to the health department.
Yeah, so that's how, that is what we have discussed on opening back up, and I think it's fair for everybody, and I think it's kind of the guidelines that we put in place to open back up here. So.
Are we gonna have one of those temperature machines that they walk through?
Actually, I think right at the time, them machines, I think they said, what, about $2,000 to get one of them, and I think this here is, they're gonna have the infrared thermometers that just point at them, and they don't have to touch them or anything, they can just point it. And
They said those infrared machines are backward to like the end of June anyway, so we wouldn't, I mean, by the time we get it.
you know, I tell you, and that's something that you brought that up. Of course, in my business, I thought I'll be allowed to open back up here about the middle of June and get going back, and so I thought, well, I would do something to try to have hand sanitizer and stuff like that available. But I thought, you know, best way, you've got a lot of people there, sometimes best way to do that would have a automatic stand-up thing that you just didn't have to touch anything. I've surfed the internet, and every company that I know of, and they're all sold out. So I mean, that's going to be a problem there too. Like you say, that scanner, I'm sure would be impossible to get right now. But the thermometers, they will take their temperature, and they don't have to touch them. They can just shoot it, basically point at them, and I think they do have to be so close, but they can point it and they'll pick it up.
And we also discussed if somebody gets turned away for whatever reason, temperature, whatever, we'll have to talk to our security officers, make sure they understand, let these people know they can still do business here, but it'll have to be done the way we're doing now, for remote or some other different.
Over the phone, something.
Yeah, they're not telling them you can't do business, you just can't come in and do it.
And they need to contact the department that they need services from. The numbers are on the outside of the building, posted so they can read it from the outside and make sure that they know to contact the office they need service from, and they'll handle their business remotely.
Is there any mention of the health department, that they need to go to the health department if they're having this fever, that they need to be tested? We need to have some kind of guidelines where we're watching that too.
You know, if somebody, and I don't know how much jurisdiction I guess we would have over that if somebody comes in here and they've got a temperature of 100.5 or 100.6, I think we should strongly suggest that they seek some kind of medical advice or medical attention, but I don't know that we could say, hey, you have to go there.
Because if we're taking their temperature, then we've started something, and then they really need to be relayed to the health department to make sure that whatever it is.
I would say, let me throw this in. We haven't discussed this, but it might be that everybody comes in and out here, we may want to have an ID from them and keep a record of it. So if they do come in and they have it, we'll have a record, and then we can notify our health department that somebody came in, and if they tested later somewhere, we can check, see if they were in this building.
I'd be against that. I don't think anybody's gonna, I mean, if we're open the courthouse, then it's open. I mean, it's free willing, so we don't, on a normal day 2 years ago, I asked somebody for their ID and their address and everything else, so.
But that's a normal day. We can agree or disagree.
Well, we're gonna disagree, so.
Okay, and I disagree. I think we ought to keep track of who's coming in and out of our courthouse.
Raymond, you got something?
Yeah, something, Mr. Jones?
Well, you could get into a humongous record keeping track of who comes. And I think our obligation is, if I take your temperature and it's 100.5, I tell you what, my reading is, and that's the end of it. I tell you, you have a temp of 100.5.
And I think, I think on the behalf of an employee, I think we probably, again, what we just signed there a minute ago, I think is, you know, if you've got a temperature of 100.5, then at that point, I think the department head's going to be notified, and you know, the next day, I think they're going to probably ask you, okay, you know, did your fever go down? Did it go up? I think they're probably going to say, I think the department head would have the right to say, you know what, let's wait the 72 hours that you're fever free. The general public, well, I don't think we have anything to do
I was
there.
talking about John Q. public.
Yeah, and I think Raymond's right on that. I think at that point you take the temperature and come say, I'm sorry, you can't come in. You've got a temperature of 100.5, and they will have to make their decision where they want to go to health department, a doctor, or whatever.
Well, there's a lot of reasons why you could have a temperature.
Sure.
COVID-19, you
Yeah.
have a tooth infection.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
have
anything.
cancer. I mean, so.
That's up to them to go get treated. When you want to tell them and you turn them away, that's up to them to go.
I think that's just a number for us, just to say, you're not coming in.
But now, are we talking about all county buildings?
But if they go to Walmart, then they infect,
That's their.
True.
That's what they're.
That's true.
That's just like our employees, we were talking.
Well,
about.
our county, we're not, I don't think, everybody, the courthouse, I know is, we have the capabilities, but on the rest of the county buildings, I don't know that we have any kind of capabilities of taking everybody's temperature that would go in there. Now, if the public's going in there,
Well,
I think at that
like
point.
community corrections, you may have 40 people a day going in, getting schedules and things like that. You know,
I'd say at that point, they go to the health department, get you a thermometer, if you wanna stop them at the door and go.
I think, yeah, leave it up
You
there.
know, I think that'd be the safest thing to do.
I can tell you, the highway department's looking at, I think, gonna put up a glass wall for the public to come in, which will protect them, so they can do all their business. And employees can't, but the people in the office would be protected. I would highly recommend the health department do the same thing. So even if they've got a temperature, you've got a wall between them. They don't have to do all business in the back.
I think the easiest way to handle that is if the health department has thermometers, you know, have one at the health department, have one at the highway department. When your employees come in the morning, walk over and go boom, 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 okay, go to work. If somebody tests, you know, somebody's over the 100.4, go home.
Yeah.
Same thing here, because all the people that work in this building is gonna get tested when they walk through that door.
Yeah.
So if you do that at the health department, you do that at the highway department, then you're covered, so.
I think that would, I mean, I certainly don't have a problem with that. I don't, again, now, with that being said, and we talked about this the other day, you know, we're opening this back up and you know, at what point, I guess, do you say, okay, we no longer need to do this either? I mean, you know, you do it the first week, you do it the first month, you do it the next 6 months, or is this the new normal? You know, at some point, when do you say, well, we don't have to take their temperature no more when they come in? And that's going to be kind of sticky too, I think, as far as, you know, every morning, if you had to walk around and take your employee's temperature every morning, I don't know how long that's going to last either, you know. So, but I think just the guidelines that we've got set up, I think it's probably going to be adequate and to get the courthouse back open and that kind of stuff.
What you were talking about is us protecting people, our employees, while they're at work. As you well know, our employees could leave this building, walk out there, get in a Volkswagen with 10 other people.
Sure.
And then they're on their personal time. They can do whatever they want and they come back to work the next day, and we're gonna try to protect them again. But what they're doing on their outside these building walls is something that they personally have to take accountability for. So
Yeah.
Bob, is there any consequences for those workers coming to work knowing that they have been exposed, they've been around someone that's been exposed to the virus?
You know, and that's, I think myself, and I'm just speaking for myself here, I think that we all, owe it to our coworkers and everybody to fess up and say, hey, I've got a family member, I've got somebody that's sick, and, you know, I've got to believe that if they don't, and you know that, then I think at that point, I would think there would have to be something that you could do.
Especially if we're gonna be paying them.
Yes, and it's, yeah, I feel like that if they do not come forward and say that, then I think at that point, yeah, I think you'd have to have some kind of recourse, reprimanded, up to and including termination. Because I think, you know, it's no different than any other situation, I don't think. You know, this is all, like I say, new for everybody, but, on this particular disease. But again, I think we owe it to everybody to try to keep, your fellow coworkers safe, and if you're not doing that, I don't see what it would be any different than any other situation that you might put your fellow coworker at jeopardy.
We talked about that at our meeting the other night about, we do have a county employee that a family member or somebody he knows, he was direct contact with him. He did come to work, but in turn, we want to make sure that every department head knows and tells their people, you know, either whether it's face to face, so they understand that if you are in contact with a family member or a friend or somebody that has tested positive, you're not going to lose your job. You're going to, if we send you home, you're going to be paid. So there's not a consequence to them to come forward and say, hey, you know, my mother-in-law, my friend's mother-in-law, or whatever it is, and I was there. And so, you know, I think some people may try to hide it to say, well, I need my job, I need to make money, and I need to support my family. But on the flip of that, we need to make sure that they understand they will be paid, and they're not going to lose anything by coming forward and saying, hey, you know, my best friend tested positive, and I was with him last week. So I think we talked about that, of making sure the department heads all knew to make sure that they're telling all their employees that, you know, they're safe. I mean, you know, fess up, tell us up front so we all know. So I think that message is getting out there. So hopefully they all abide by that.
But taking the temperature thing, we need to have EMS and 911 get on that too. They should be doing that too.
I think anybody, I think I agree with Donnie here, you know, for the immediate future, and again, I can't say how long that's gonna be, but I do think that, everybody that, employees, the courthouse employees will be checked as they come through the door, and I think it's probably fine to do that. It's, at the other departments too. And there is people that come in to these other departments, and if they're coming in, and now that's gonna fall upon probably the, department heads to decide whether it's at, like, across the road at the community corrections, then at that point, if, people's gonna come in over there and do business, and whether people want to take their temperature before they come through the door, I think that's more than right. I think it's, in this day and age, I really don't think where we're at right today, I don't think there's any wrong that you can do as far as being safe. I think, you know, I think at that point, if somebody says, you know, I'm just gonna be honest how I would handle it, if I'm the department head for community corrections, and 3 or 4 people come walking up there, first of all, I'm going to be the 6 foot apart. But if I was going to check their temperature, and I'm the head of that department, and one of them tells me that you're not, you know, I don't think I want my temperature taken, and I would probably at that point just say, well, until you agree to it, you're not coming in, because that is the guidelines for the courthouse and for our buildings. And if you don't want it taken, then don't come in. That's that simple. I think it's.
And I'm making a poster to send to all of the buildings.
Yes.
This is county buildings, not just courthouse. And then it's do not enter if you have that temperature of that above. And then things that we want you to do while you're in here: stay 6 feet apart, wash your hands, sanitize after you touch common areas, I'm trying to put some general guidelines, and I usually scan that and send it to all the county building department heads that are in separate buildings. So I'm trying to work on that, and with your extra suggestions and stuff today, I can come up with a little bit more information, you know, and I think I'll do is, write notes to myself, separate signage about you will be denied entry if you test 100.4 or above in temperature to all the buildings, and I can do an individual sign for that and send it to the building.
And I think it's important over there, Bob, because those people are not gonna tell you anything when they come in.
Yeah.
If they've got a sick family member, if they're sick, they're not gonna tell you anything. So I think it's important when they hit that door that they at least get their temperature taken. You're averaging probably 40 people a day. If they've got 120 people on, you're getting 120 people during a week's time. And they're not gonna walk in and say, hey, somebody's sick or whatever. They're just gonna go in and get their schedule, turn around and leave.
Okay. Anything else on the pandemic discussion here that anybody wants to talk about?
Do we have a policy for the future?
That is something I think is, again, we got the policy that we just done for the federal side of it, but on the county side of it, that's something I think we probably need to work at, is to know where, you know, what we're gonna do. And I mean, we're gonna follow the federal guidelines, there's no doubt, but I think there is some leadway here on the county's part that they could discuss and talk about if we like. And but to be honest, no, I don't think we've got anything that's in, as a policy. So you know, throughout all of this, we have took the position that, okay, we were going to follow the guidelines of the CDC and the State Board of Health as far as what we've done, and that's what we've tried to do throughout this. So I don't know if that's what we just stay with and try to follow theirs, and whatever that is we do. I don't know. It's open for discussion. If anybody got any ideas, certainly speak up.
You're basically gonna reopen with the safety features that we've discussed, and say in the fall sometime that it spikes again.
Then it did.
And you all determine that you need to take action again. What action are you gonna take? That's what I'm asking.
Well, and again, I think it would be just like pretty well it is now. First of all, I think, and I don't know if it, and it may come to that. You know, I think it would be, we will follow the advice of the state health department, our local health department, and whatever the CDC, and if it becomes this fall, this winter, whatever, they may not, and we don't know what they're going to do as far as statewide or even federally. They may say, okay, if this county is numbers is spiking, this county needs to go into some kind of quarantine. If that does, then I think that we would follow the advice of the health departments and just go on that. I don't think, because of our numbers, I don't feel like that without following some suggestions from the state health department, our local health department here in the state, I don't think that we're ever going to be, as Board of Commissioners, going to say, okay, we're going to go in, put the county into quarantine without some kind of guidelines sent out to us. So I think we'll probably just be following, again, the State Board of Health and local health board and whatever guidelines that's presented to us.
So the council, what I'm asking, I guess, is the council will be included in those decisions when it comes to
Yes. Yes.
monetary policy.
Yes, and because if when it goes into, again, the guidelines that we just set up, and we do need to talk about that some, the guidelines that we just followed on the federal side of it, that tells you that if you what you can do on the federal side of it. But let's just be honest, if this does continue and you go back and forth into and out of quarantine and maybe it lasts, 3 or 4 weeks at a time, and you back out and then, you're back in. Somewhere along the line, you can only do what your checkbook allows you to do, and I understand that, you know, whether it's in your private life or whether it's in county business, and somewhere the money may play out. So, I think at that point, I would be probably, of course, we could change it at any time, but, I think if you set something automatically in policy that you're gonna do this, this, and this, and you don't have the money to do that, then you got a problem. I think, you know, and I hope everybody that's employed by this county has certainly realized that, on behalf of the commissioners and the council, I think we've done everything pretty well possible to keep people, they all receive their pay, and, you know, I think we've tried to be very accommodating during this. But again, I think, you know better than I do, the council does, that somewhere I can see where the checking account goes dry. And I think we all gotta be, you know, realistic and think, okay, if there's no monies, then how do you continue this? So that's some of the things I think
As about.
far
as what we would do, and I don't think we'd do too much different than what we've already done, but, speaking with 5 counties that I do in southern Indiana, some of them stayed open the whole time. Park County never shut their courthouse down, their employees stayed at work the whole time. They were on limited access to the courthouse, just like what we are now, but, Harrison and Washington County shut their courthouses down, but Floyd didn't. Floyd was kind of a half and half, you know. So
Like the ones that shut down, did their employees go ahead and work? Washington County and.
Some did, some didn't. Some worked from home, just kind of like what we were doing. But speaking with some of those, the ones that stayed open actually would do that again if there'd be a spike or whatever.
They stayed open, but they did, like you did you had to have an appointment.
Yes,
Okay.
they want, every one of their offices were open and manned, whether from home.
Like we're doing currently.
That's correct. And they would do that, you know, 100% again if something had spiked or something happened where, you know, but, so I think we pretty much were doing, you know, most of what everybody else around us was doing. So I don't see, you know, and quite honestly, just like it was kind of learn as you go, because you're trying to figure out what works, what doesn't work, and change it if it doesn't, change it if it does. But we were pretty consistent with what everybody else was doing. So
the only thing that I'm looking at this, and I'm you know, I've looked at it, and the only thing that I can say that maybe we could have done that was different from what we did, and at some point we may have to do this. Nobody likes to hear this, but hear the whole reason for it. Some of our employees, we might have been better off, and we might have been doing them a favor if we were furloughed, because at that point, they would have certainly been entitled to the unemployment, and they would have been entitled to $600 a month, or $600 a week from the federal government, I believe. So all of a sudden, it could have been something that would have made it easier for them.
but they lost their health insurance.
That would have been the only thing. I don't know, we'd have to figure out somehow that they would have been able to keep their health insurance along, and I don't know. Well, I think even if they would have had to pay COBRA during that time, they could have probably still come out monetarily, they could have come out money ahead, I think.
Furlough can be done with health benefits, so they could have just caught back up whenever they came back, because they're really not unemployed, they're just furloughed, and it's kind of a temporary, the way Irwin's office explained it to me.
So
I had
that's
a couple
something
questions.
that's something that we might think about if we had to in the future. We might have to do something like that, but it's again, it wouldn't be terminating them, it would be a furlough until, you know, the time, at such time they could come back. That would be what I would be in favor of, you know. So, if it comes, you know, if it.
As one councilman, I would certainly suggest that you do that rather than pay people to do the call. The rest of the council may have a different opinion, but I would rather see them furloughed, especially if there's an incentive, like you said.
Yeah, but this $600 he was talking about is gonna run out in July.
Yes.
So if it happens in the fall and you
Right.
lay them off, they're not gonna be entitled to that unless they do something else.
Yeah, and I think that's what we need to look at, and on, you know, whether or not, you know, I don't want people that, come up short by no means, but I think in this particular case, might have been a better move for our employees than what we did. So I think that's what we gotta look at when if it comes back again, you know.
Well, I think the government's gonna look at that $600 extra because at first I think they thought it was a great idea, but after they realized that some of these people are making more money than people that are still working,
Yeah,
that put some mud in some people's faces because they didn't appreciate that. So
Some of those people's not gonna go back to work.
that's right.
What
And you
he
can't, I mean, you gotta cut the spigot off and tell them to go back to work at a reduced rate because they're making more money sitting home and the people that are working are getting frustrated, so.
So I guess one of the things I'm asking is, I've seen plans for different counties. I have Jennings County with me, I believe, right now. Are y'all gonna put together a plan like that?
I think we need to, and I think, again, it will be, again, we will follow some of Jennings County, and I think Mike and we all have been in contact with other counties, and we'll try to combine what works for the other counties. There'll be some of it we'll pick and choose and throw out, but what we'll do again is, come back, later with another joint meeting, and with whatever you guys, we'll sit down with you and we'll let you look at over too. That's my opinion, I think we should.
Yeah, I think we should have a policy, that way the employees will know what to expect. If it happens again, they won't burn all their days and
Yeah.
vacations and stuff like that this summer and not have nothing left for this fall.
Yeah.
And, again, you know, it's gonna come down to, monies, we know that. And we know that we've got monies budgeted for the positions right now, but anything above and beyond or whatever, I don't think, you know, it's gonna be hard to come up with. It's gonna be hard to come up with, so. With that being said, we'll have something in place, hopefully within the next 30 days, how's that?
Well, I'd like to voice my opinion on something.
Okay.
You know, we paid some people $2.50 an hour while they was working. I think the courthouse people may have been some kind of a workers' comp thing, not workers' comp, a comp time thing. Personally, as one councilman, I think it ought to be $2.50 for everybody and not the comp time, because if you really truly look at it, no, it's not costing us any more money, but if they work up 7 hours, well, they get a day off, but they also got paid for that. The other people are getting $2.50 and working. So really, they're getting their pay plus a day off. And I think it ought to be fair across the board to everybody. If we're gonna do something like that next time, or even this time, I don't know if we voted, how we voted yet.
No, it's not been.
Right,
voted.
but I think it ought to be fair across the board, that everybody gets the same, that we don't put this person on $2.50 and these people on comp time. I just think it ought to be, and there's a lot of talk in the employees that they was mistreated. I'm hearing a lot of that, texting and all that to me. But when you sit down and look at it, I think it makes sense to do it one way or the other. And everybody's treated the same. And that's just my opinion.
But correct me if I'm wrong, but we only voted to ask Tammy to figure $2.50 an hour for certain employees and comp time for certain employees. We have not passed on.
And I think you're right, but when we get to that decision, to
Yeah.
make those decisions, I'm just voicing my opinion, I think it ought to be the same, one way or the other. That way, employees can't complain that you did this for them and you didn't do it for me. That's just what.
I understand, but I mean, I just want
Well, we came to the point that clerical wasn't in as fix a shape as emergency. EMS, everybody coming in contact with sick people, so that's why we gave them the $2.50. Clerical is more apt to, they can fill their time in easier instead of having to actually be
On the
scheduled and in front of the people again.
And I understand that, and
And we don't
But-
have a lot of money to work with, so extra.
Right, but-
We'll be unhappy if they do the cross the board.
yeah, but the thing of it is, they do get a free day off, and they're paid for it. They're not gonna miss any pay, plus they'll get a day off. I think that's what.
But they're not getting the extra $2.50, that's what we talked about the other day at the whole meeting.
Right, they're not getting the extra $2.50, but they're getting paid
For a regular day.
100%, to be honest with you. They're getting 100% of their pay.
where we can,
Not additional, but they get their full pay plus a day off. So it is hour for hour, because they're getting a free day off. I don't know if I'm explaining that right,
But only, did we not say only the ones that got called in
Yeah.
and had to be exposed?
It wasn't
Get
everybody.
the
Yeah.
hourly overtime.
right, but
Whatever.
even if it's one
Get
person, we're
comp
treating
time
them
for that.
different, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, but some of them got to stay home and got full pay, whereas the others had to come in sometimes and do their job. So that was the ones we was treating,
And
was
that's-
given the comp time.
Right, and that's the ones I would like to see, do away with comp time and get the 250.
Ain't gonna let anybody have.
I think that's the discussion our next council.
Yeah.
Yeah. but-
It may be, but I'd like to voice my opinion, 'cause I'm getting so many calls, I don't know if you are.
well, here's
I'm getting a
what,
lot of
People
county
making enough
employees.
money.
but here's what I wanna
They
get out
pay
there is, we have not made a decision on that.
Right, and that's why I'm
People think
voicing
we've already,
it.
I know, I understand that, people think we've already made that decision.
Right.
We have not, it will come up again at a council meeting, and you all are welcome,
Well,
anybody
yeah,
else.
I'll be the first to say that I thought you passed that, and I'll go on record as saying, that I thought you had. So, if I said anything, I apologize, but on the flip of that, my opinion of it is, and the reason my vote for when we passed the payroll ordinance was that, because we talked about it, that somebody's gonna be ticked one way or the other, and my whole thing was, you pay them what they make each week, you don't pay them anything extra, and when they come back to work, they completed their job, and they came back to work, and hopefully they're healthy. That's the only way I would have ever voted for that, because how do you distinguish that somebody walks in this courthouse is gonna be any more, when the courthouse is closed, they're gonna be exposed to COVID any more than someone that's on an ambulance service, which I know in the last 3 days hauled 2 people that were COVID. So those people that are actually touching someone that has COVID should be compensated hazardous duty pay. Someone that's standing in an office, whether they're getting paid at home for 40 hours and coming in and now they're getting comp time, I got blew up in a commissioner's meeting a few weeks ago because there was an amendment came in that said pretty much what you guys are talking about, that people that showed up in the courthouse are gonna get comp time and extra pay. And that rubs me wrong on every dang level, that we were being generous by not laying people off and keeping their insurance going and keeping their pay going, and now we're gonna pay them extra. That's just for the life of me. I mean, my pay, my driver's pay at my company, which is a $1 billion company, didn't pay them any different. They work every day.
But were their drivers sitting home getting paid also for not driving?
Nobody got sent home. If they tested positive for COVID, they got paid.
I'm not talking about test positive, I'm just
No,
saying.
everybody worked.
So you're saying
everybody.
every driver you got worked
That's
every
correct.
day?
Nobody took a day off anytime.
So there wasn't any driver sitting home getting
No.
paid while your driver was driving?
Absolutely not.
So you don't know what the problem is then, because the problem we've got is that we had an office with 5 people in it, and 2 of them came in and worked and got paid just regular pay. 3 of them are sitting at home, getting paid regular pay for not doing anything.
That's correct, but think about it on this side, Mike, because now you're gonna comp somebody that walked in here, because I drove by this courthouse, there's people's cars out there, I'm like, what are they doing in the courthouse today? So now you're gonna comp and benefit somebody that came into the courthouse, and I don't know what they were doing, but they were in the courthouse, so you're gonna comp them because they hit a time card. But you, on the other hand, the person that we told to go home, that we told them to go home, they didn't say, hey, I'm gonna go home. We're paying them, but yeah, because we didn't say, hey, come on in and work, now they don't get comp time. But we told them to stay home. So you're benefiting somebody because they're an essential worker, and so I just don't see the logic there. I mean, I understand what you're saying. They showed up in here, so we're gonna pay them extra.
And other people sitting home,
That's right.
getting paid just like they showed up.
And you know the answer to that question, because I know we talked about it, and we shouldn't be arguing over or having a discussion over, in my opinion, someone getting paid or somebody getting paid and doing extra. Because none of these people in here were exposed to COVID. They're not ever going to get exposed to COVID, no more than they are if they go to JC or Walmart or anyplace else. So my point is that we paid them their straight pay, and that was it. If you want to pay hazardous duty pay to somebody, pay it to EMS out there, the people that are standing there in their people's houses, people that are dying, and they're face to face with this. So in turn, here's what I would have done. I'd have never voted for the payroll ordinance in the first place if I knew that somebody was going to get comp time or extra time just because they walked in this door. I would never voted to close the courthouse in the first place. If they want to argue about, I think I need comp time or I don't need comp time, then what they need to do is stay home, draw unemployment, and don't come to work.
Here's what we need to do. We need each department to tell us who's essential.
I sent that form out to them.
And then, when that happens, we need to build a job description from our HR firm, how we're gonna pay those essential employees, because they're coming in and working, and there's people sitting home. The way y'all did it was you were paying people to sit at home, not doing anything, and you're calling people in to work and paying them straight time. What's fair about that?
I guess you and I think about it differently, so.
Well, Mike, there's people all across the state of Indiana, they're giving their people a little extra because they're coming in. That's just, we've never been in a situation like this before. So what we're doing, we're making a decision, people that's forced to come in, it's not their fault that this virus happened, we're giving them a little extra, like the $2.50.
Who was forced? Who was forced to come in?
The department, you'll have to ask the department heads. You'll have to ask them. They say, I need you here today, so they're here, and somebody else got to stay home in their pajamas, okay? And still getting paid. Well, I understand that. I don't like the comp time. That was my bottom line bringing this
Quite
up.
honestly, and this is, again, my opinion only, but if any department head that is running that department, if they can't do the essential job of every person in their department, then they failed their department, I think, in my opinion. So if that, what would happen if the person that was the essential person that came in here, what if they decided they weren't gonna come in here? Are you gonna fire them?
Well, that'd be up to you guys.
Are you gonna fire them? Because
It wouldn't be up to you guys, it'd be up to the department heads.
so you're gonna force somebody to walk in here when the courthouse is closed. I don't think that ever happened.
Well, I mean, that's.
I think we're talking an awful lot about the past, and not everybody, all of us.
Yeah, I would just like
But
to
I
see
will
everybody
say-
treated the
I
same
will
across
say-
the board.
And this is, you guys do the pay ratings, but I will say, I always thought hazardous duty was going to be police, fire, not that fire, we don't have fire, but I was thinking of EMS, fire. I was even including the highway on that, because they're out exposed every day. I was not thinking about extra money for the courthouse employees who were coming in. I'm a little bit more like, yeah, I don't think it was forced either, and I think if you have to stay home and got paid, you was treated pretty well.
Absolutely.
I was always thinking about extra pay and we call it hazardous duty, but it's people in emergency services we did force them out to be exposed. We told them, you've got to go do this. People in the courthouse, we were protecting from being exposed. And I think there's two categories there.
So basically what happened was, everyone that got to stay home got a holiday. And everybody that came to work, had to work that holiday, they should have gotten double time.
And what we're all talking about today is that's
In the
what will happen
courthouse.
in the future.
Yeah, that's
And
what,
in the past, we may have made a mistake, maybe we didn't, but we did protect our people.
but
Should somebody get extra pay and benefits, to me, it goes back to emergency service and hazardous duty pay. That's who I think.
Yeah, my bottom line, John, is just, whatever we do, across the board, we treat everybody the same. Whether
I
it's
will-
0 or where it's $2.50.
and I think,
If we
and I
do-
see what Donnie's saying, if I'm running these numbers right here, and I think I am, if you take somebody that makes $18 an hour, and you pay them for 8 hours a day, that's $144. Now, if you put $2.50 on that same person, and you pay them 8 hours a day, that's $164. So what you're saying is if you pay everybody if you're paying somebody that worked $2.50 more an hour, they're actually gaining $20 a day more, and the person that your comp time is actually gaining the whole $144.
You're exactly right, but
Is
the
that-
problem is,
Yeah.
the people we're paying $2.50 an hour they worked.
True.
And the
My
people that,
Yeah.
the people that
my little-
worked could have been staying home and getting paid, all they had to do is say, I'm not
Just
coming
my
in.
little thoughts, if we paid everybody in the county an extra $2.50 an hour, it's still unfair to the people who are doing hazardous duty. Because they're getting the exact same thing that somebody in here that did not have to go out and be exposed.
Because a lot of these people was working from home, they were performing their jobs at home.
Yes.
But there was a few that they couldn't do their jobs at home, but that wasn't their fault.
Right, that's what I'm
But
talking
they
about.
got paid.
Pay nobody at home.
They got paid,
Except
they
their
were not
normal
exposed
pay.
unless they went out on their own.
But I was told from our IT guy that, I asked him how many people actually could work from home. And there's not too many jobs in this courthouse that you can do from home.
Right.
So that, I think you could count on one hand how many people actually were working from home. I mean,
But they got paid regardless.
But my point is this, the next time that happens, if you do it the same way, what's to keep anyone from saying, I've not been listed as essential, everybody has to stay home, I'm not coming in, what are you
I
gonna do?
think for the
And
future,
they
we
have a legitimate point.
and they do have a legitimate point, but I have a distinction between people in the courthouse and hazardous duty. I just think there's a big distinction.
I'm personally.
And I am for the future.
No, I'm personally not considering the secretaries in the courthouse having duty pay. I'm just trying to make it fair for the fact they could have been sitting home when other people were sitting home and they were in here working.
I will say-
Hazardous duty got nothing to do with it.
4 days a week.
And they were, and for the future, maybe we need to correct that, and maybe everybody's gotta come in, as long as we keep them safe in here. It's a different ballgame in the future.
No, we could have let everybody in our office stay home and nobody would get paid and no bills would get paid.
Yeah.
Here's,
So those people have to come in to pay bills and
yeah,
keep
I'm
paying.
just against the comp time.
here's one thing that I would caution everybody on is, first of all, you know, whatever we do now, again, we set a precedence for the future. So what, you know, and I, you know, you're exactly right, there is people that I know in the private sector and probably in the public sector that they are trying to pay people some kind of hazardous duty pay or something that, and I think we should if we can. But whatever you do today, you know, you may have to live with tonight, so I'm thinking. And so if it comes up again in the wintertime, do you set this precedent? I don't know. You just gotta take all things into consideration. And again, we will say this, Mike, I know I did, again, you know, we have, and I've yet to see it. Every department needs to deem who is an essential worker. That, you know, whatever happens, it don't matter if it's this or whatever else, these are the people that's got to be here. And to this day, I don't think we've seen
When you
anything.
do that, when you
Yeah,
do
but if
that,
they do, they're gonna say
I
all their
sent
people are essential.
but when you do that,
And now, Tammy, did you get anything back?
I got responses from department heads, but I'm
But-
gonna tell you right now, cause I sat through this entire thing. I cannot replace 7 people, 8:30 to 4:30,
True.
for 3.5 weeks. I tried.
Yeah.
You can't keep the courthouse limited, run it from 8:30 to 4:30 with phones. Mike's sitting here with me for half a day one day. You've been in here with me. How many times did I have to stop and answer the phone and answer everything from who's the prosecutor's office to the clerk's office to whoever? I was information central.
And I've said before, your office is the heart of the county, everything comes to there.
Yeah.
And yes, I have been in there many times, and actually just the opposite, I didn't get to talk to you because he's on the phone.
right,
And I agree with that,
And I cannot replace
but
6
that
or
being
7
said,
people.
I don't know anybody that's gonna say those people aren't essential.
I am going, and that's where I'm going
Yeah.
with that, is because if your policy is non-existent, and we start this again at some point in time, if you tell people they're gonna get to be on call and sit at home, that person becomes non-essential from that department head's perspective.
Well, I'll say
If you
now,
tell them they're not going to get paid,
I will,
they're gonna become essential. Do you understand where I'm going with
Yeah,
this?
I see what you're saying, yeah.
If I do not have something in writing to tell department heads that, so here's my suggestion to you guys when you start developing your policy. To me, essential workers are your health, your safety, your EMS, your law enforcement. Those are your essential people. Those are non-questionable. They're on the duty, they're on clock, 24 hours a day, whatever. When you start to talk to non-essential departments, and I'm gonna throw my department in non-essential, okay? Who is required to come in my department to keep not the county going as all these safety and hazard are for your citizens? Who's gonna take care of county government operations, your headquarters? From that perspective, and I'm not even gonna go with courts, because they live under different laws and statutes. I'm not talking about courts at all, I'm just talking about your county operational offices. I need to tell you, I need 10 hours of Mandy, I need 15 hours of Trina, I need whatever it is, I need to tell you because I'm not essential, but I have required functions to do,
Yes.
okay? So I need to be honest with you as a department head and tell you exactly what I need. So that security guard out there, if this building ever goes on total lockdown, limited access, whatever it is, I need to tell you who and how many hours I need out of these people in a pay period to function my office for the good of the county. Nobody else gets allowed in here but who I have on my list as security. Then you have a non-contaminated building or very limited contamination. And you guys know who is in and out of your building. If somebody breaks out with COVID in here during that time frame, we have a very limited contact list. That's my opinion, because I sat here through the whole 3.5 weeks of that closure. And I answered a lot of questions and filled in a lot of things. I've learned a lot, and that's what I've learned out of my experience. Now, you guys can heed my recommendations or not, but that's what I see from a standpoint. Because if you tell somebody they're gonna get to sit at home and be on call, they're an essential employee, they'll be allowed to do whatever. You know, and if you tell them they're not gonna get paid, then they definitely become essential at that point. So they'll be non-essential if they're paid on call. And that's just my take on it. Everybody may have their own, but that's what I've seen, because all of a sudden people become very essential if there's a paycheck involved.
If you lock down the courthouse, I don't see why people can't come into work.
I agree,
And that's the other way I was gonna go with this. Please, if we are limited access, work us. Just make us work. Make us do these things and keep us on the job, and then you don't have to worry about additional pays or rewarding people beyond their normal pay. Unless there would be something that was extremely hazardous that about took us all out or something,
And
okay?
as you said before, I think the first time around, we maybe get a mulligan because we
learned.
were flying blind.
See to our
We
pants.
did what we had to do,
Yes.
but ultimately, I think we protected our employees. It was a money issue is what's really the problem of it. We protected our people.
It was scary.
Now, what was fair, who's getting paid, not getting paid, who ought to be in here and shouldn't be in here is a whole different. they're all related topics. In the past, we may have made mistakes, we got it corrected, and we're gonna do that this month, right, June?
Yes, yes.
And with your input. But I think we're all resolved right now, if this happens again, everybody's coming to work.
Yeah, I think with the
Yes.
health guidelines that we've set in place now, the
Yes.
temperature,
Yeah,
the
you're gonna
masks, the
test.
hand washing.
Yeah, I think
We're gonna
we're-
have to live with this for a while, and that's what I said in the first meeting. Everybody's gonna have to be cautious. I mean, I was at home, so I don't know if everybody heard me. But the first meeting, you know, even whenever you, like being from the healthcare field, you go in, every patient, you treat them like they have whatever. So even if you're going to Walmart and stuff, as soon as you should be washing your hands, I mean, you just gotta use common sense with this. And just be a little cautious. I mean, don't quit living life, but you gotta be cautious with this, cause you don't know who has it. So if we do temperatures and all that, I don't think there's any need to shut this place down again and have to go through this anyways.
I think that's where
We
we're
just
all.
run, and if they don't wanna come in,
I agree,
Then they take
I
their
agree
What
with
we did,
that.
what we did, flying blind.
Yeah.
And I think it was a good decision at the time, but I've said since that I wish we hadn't, so.
but now that it's learned that
But
you're.
we have never been through this before. You didn't
Well, and I
want
do
to.
think this too.
Because the same people I saw walking in Walmart with no masks on or.
And I wanna say that I think the success is that we did not have a county worker that we know of so
In here.
far in here that has been a COVID contamination. I'm thankful we're sitting with a jail that is not, you know,
Yes.
a COVID hotspot. I'm very thankful that we have come through, and I applaud everybody because I know I've had a lot of conversations with different people over the last several weeks, and everybody's coming at this with, they want everybody to be safe, okay? I think most everybody has got the intention that they wanted to do no harm to anybody or not create a situation that was unsafe for anybody. But we're all okay on the end of this. I think we've learned a lot, and I applaud anybody who has lamented over any aspect of this at all, because it has been an emotional, confusing, unprecedented time in our history. I never would have imagined some of the things that we've had to go through in the last 4.5 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks. So
I will say this, and then we're gonna move on this, because, well, again, we can kick this can down the road all day here. But, you know, it kinda comes down to the old thing, and sometimes no good deed goes unpunished, so to speak. And if there was any mistakes made, again, it was with the thoughts of the employees at hand. You know, everything that I think, the Board of Commissioners, and I think even you guys have done, has been trying to be for the employees. Now, with that being said, here it comes up, and we do run into this, is okay, this and work, this and that, and I'm kinda like John said a while ago, you know, what I always thought would be the essential was the EMS and the fire, well, we don't have fire departments like you said, but the sheriff's department, and them kind of things. That's kind of what I had as essential. But anyway, again,
Let me say.
we made some, well, and we will, but again, it's a learning curve that we've, you know, fell right into our laps, and we will do better in the future. So we'll try to make this fair for all, so that's it.
And in the long run, I think we've been successful.
I know we've been
Everything
successful.
else is a different.
If you look at our numbers, we have been very successful, so, you know, Mike, go ahead.
On behalf of council, or one council person, I'd just like to say that the council does not have to give any pandemic pay, the council does not have to give any time off, the council does not have to do anything. We were trying to do what we thought would be nice for employees that went maybe above and beyond just a little bit, and to have people complain about it is disappointing to me, I'll just say that.
All
Not
right.
everybody is, I don't think.
No,
I don't
not
want it.
everybody, but I was
Matter of fact,
told,
most are.
said they got slapped in the face,
Yeah.
and that's why I'll voice my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't want to start a new discussion or anything, but if there's ever been a demonstrated need for a county manager, it's now.
Maybe a HR, not a county manager.
But whatever you want to call it, whatever you want to call it, if there's ever been a demonstrated need, it's now.
And it
End of discussion, no.
would pay for itself if we got an HR.
So
Let me
just
And
Put that in the
Marty,
back of your head.
I'm saying this in an open meeting, Marty, but this is actually just rumors from a meeting that I went to. Some person that I talked to went to a meeting with some state employees, and they said the state is gonna recommend that every county freezes its budget for the next 2 years. There will be no riverboat tax this year, and several things that the state now pays to counties is not gonna happen this year or next year. So, and they said it's gonna be a dire situation for counties. The counties are gonna take a big hit financially for the next 2 years, so.
Or payroll taxes.
And I totally agree with that. And, I would say we need to be, we just hired another person last night, or Wednesday. I think we better be awful careful we start spending more money and hire more people right now, because we could end up turning around and have to wish we had not gone that route.
Is there any way we could maybe send out a notice to all the departments not to be spending anything that they don't have to, that they're not forced to? And one of the things I got to thinking about was this bridge you guys are getting ready to do on Main Street or whatever. I mean, Jill's having problems with highway funding. And why not put that on hold? I mean, if you spin out on engineering, you're still gonna have that. But it's hard, because she said it's gonna be, what, 450,000?
490 something.
Yeah.
It's a big bridge,
So-
big project.
But on,
Yeah.
I think on that, and let me ask, I guess, and I want her here for this, but I think if I'm not mistaken, I mean, that's all it can be used for, and the money's in place to do it. I don't think, as far as the money, because it's under, I don't think we could move that money and use it anywhere else. And
Once
that's,
we get the grant, that could be a matching money.
pardon
Can't
me,
use that money. It's only for bridge.
only for bridge, I think. And
It's set there otherwise.
Yeah, I think at that point, it's.
So you guys can't borrow from it and then be able to put it
No.
back?
No, can't do anything.
No, if it's in a bridge, if it's in a bridge fund, then at that point, you can't borrow from it and use it somewhere else, I don't think.
I think
But that's, I mean, I'll
actually
check.
what she was trying to
Now,
get
you
at.
can borrow from it, but you have to pay it back in like the next calendar year by the end of the year. So you could borrow from it if you had to, and then
Use
things
it.
turns around, you could pay it back at the 2021.
That's a good
or-
point, I will ask her about that, yeah.
Okay.
And I happen to think, and there's all kinds of things here, but I happen to think this year's not a problem, it's next year.
Yeah, it's
The action we
21,
take
22.
this year is gonna tremendously affect us next year.
Well, see,
So,
even this year, we sent up the exact budget, for this year that we sent up for the previous year with a couple tweaks of longevity and insurance and
Yeah.
stuff. And we came back just flat. No, that was it. They let us have what we sent up, but no operating balance at all.
yeah.
And so,
Right.
if
And
we
for-
freeze that budget for the next 2 years and we get it, then we can operate pretty much like we are without any, but we can't have any additional of anything out of general fund.
I wouldn't have a problem with a hard freeze for the rest of this
Well, I
year.
wouldn't either. What we did with Chris's position was, I believe, Ivy, correct me if I'm wrong, we agreed to advertise that out of hospital reserve and rainy day. That's the only two places,
Up to 39,000.
up to
And he was to
39,000.
come
Which
up
they-
with
some of
which
it-
would
as
finish
much
the
as he
year
could
out.
out of
Which
his.
would finish the year out, then he will put it in his budget for 21, and just based on what we've already heard, it ain't gonna fly.
Yeah.
And I mentioned, layoffs or, gotta hate to say that, I don't wanna make people say we're gonna do that, but we have to think in the future, it could happen. And I just wanna let them know, this may not be
Well,
permanent.
yeah,
You say you hired somebody?
No, we're talking.
no, they did.
Chris's position
They did
that you
Chris's
guys
position.
had already agreed to do.
Oh,
So that's what we're talking about, the first deputy for the prosecutor.
The reason they had to move on Donnie was it wasn't a regular prosecutor position, he put a new title
Wow.
and a new, so we sent it up to HR firm, had it. And so once they do that, they have to prove it to.
so you all haven't agreed on it yet?
Yeah, we did, yeah, we did, yes,
They
yeah.
adopted the job
So-
description.
It's good for the rest of the year.
Well,
Yeah.
my concern was, it is coming out of our local money, and you can ask if it's gonna be a county employee. So if our finances get terrible, he could lose that employee in the future, and I just want people to know that ahead of time, listen.
Right. And you
We
made
are.
it clear
And
to
that's
him, I
what we
want.
told him then.
Yeah, I know you did, he
It's not a
doesn't understand.
not a permanent position unless it's okayed in the budget.
Yeah, he understood that, so, I'm sure if it ever comes back, he'd still argue, but that's what,
No, he called
that's
him.
what people do.
He's under the,
All right, moving forward,
One last thing on the pandemic, and I just got a text here, 110 people, 4 hospitalized.
110 in the county.
110 in the county, 4 hospitalized, and the youngest case is 2. And I think that's,
3 deaths, Mike.
yeah, I think that's, I'll just ask her if that's that county employee's family.
Yeah.
Well, the lady that just died, her husband, well, it's her fiance, he's in New Albany, I heard on a ventilator, so.
And it's not that county employees.
If we had 3 or 4 deaths now.
3.
3.
That lady had, she had
Yeah.
other issues.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Okay, moving forward here on the agenda. This got on here, parking lot in east side of square, and just to touch base on that a little bit right here, and we'll tell you, I guess, basically would see if you would be willing to do this. I think the city is going to purchase the parking lot over here, the Shoppers Mart parking lot, I think their plans is to tear the cage down and to turn that into a parking lot. They have asked if we would be willing to go in and donate our blacktopping to blacktop that, and I think including the blacktop. And then at that time, they would enter into an interlocal agreement that would allow that to become a county parking lot for county employees. I'll be very honest, what I'm hearing is they're going to get very, very strict on the parking around the square. The city owns that, that's not ours. Everything inside the area here is ours, but everything on is the city's. And they would be interested in entering into an interlocal agreement that would turn that into a county employee parking lot. But anybody that's parked around the square that would be there for over the 2 to 3 hours or whatever, that they would begin to start ticketing and start moving it up to towing them if they needed to. But they would not do that until they is a place that they can park. So that is something that I had Jill to run the numbers on that, and basically it's somewhere, it would be in the neighborhood of $10,000 to $12,000, I think, to get that, if we do the work and apply the product and pay for that. Now, to enter into an interlocal agreement, I think that we would want to enter into some kind of time period, whether it's a forever or 10 years or whatever, maybe, maybe it's, because like you say, if, we all know seats change and people are different mayors or different commissioners or whatever, different council. So at that point, I'd want to enter into some kind of interlocal agreement, I think, of some kind of time frame. But what's your thoughts on that? Could you think you would be interested in supporting something like that? Or again, you guys have got the checkbook.
I personally think we'd be crazy not to.
And my first thought is if you got the opportunity, and just for the, if it is $10,000 or $12,000, and you can enter into an interlocal agreement that's going to have some, whether it's 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is, and the county's going to get the benefit of using it, I think that's probably
And
a
obviously,
cheap product.
the interlocal agreement part would be that we have our county employee park.
Yes.
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 Is it gonna be enough room for all the county employees?
We don't know. I'll tell you what, best that I can see, and I don't know, just in my guess, I don't know that, Ab. I know that I think you could probably get,
Maybe
I feel like
the city to close the alley.
I think we could probably put, I think 30, about, in my opinion, just looking at it, I just kind of thought probably 30 parking places over there. That's about all I could see.
Well,
Now, that's what I'm seeing. But
That would, to me, even if it's just that, it would definitely help businesses on the square to get our lot, people over there.
Be 30 more than you have. Be 30 more than you have.
Yeah, and that's coming,
For 15,000.
yes, that comes down, and they will, he said the cage was definitely gonna come down, and then
That
they
helps
would,
businesses a bunch around the square, so.
they'll even look there,
And
right?
that's what it's all about, really.
And, yeah,
Increase my
so,
phone calls.
so if, I guess, I mean, we don't need, I mean, I guess, I just need verification that, that you guys could support that, to tell him, because that we would be interested in that.
If the agreement is to what you're talking about, I'd be more than happy to support it. I was in favor of buying it to start with.
Yeah,
Right.
We all,
Most of us
yeah,
was. They just need us to it.
But I
I'd
think,
like to see a
I think what Ida
long-term
said was probably
agreement.
right. I think that, you know, to include, because you're gonna be limited on parking spaces if they don't take the alley out. And it's not saying you can't drive through the parking lot and go to,
Right.
you know, Second Street over there.
yeah,
But I think that Terry needs to close that alleyway so that they can go building to building with parking, and you have open space down the center, and you probably get more spots.
that's,
There's not enough parking there where the people are gonna park.
pardon me?
They're not allowed to park on the square.
We still have, again, parking behind the 911 center, and I know that's a little farther out, but we do have that. Other than that,
You got
The city
you got
parking
the
lot.
library,
yeah, the library,
City parking lot.
and you got city.
and the city parking lot, yes.
It's a long wall.
Actually,
Yeah, I know it is, but I'm just
and
saying.
I don't know this, to be, what is church funeral home parking, is that
Not ours
private
anymore,
now?
we sold it.
Yeah, we sold it to
They
them.
should have kept it, but
Okay, well, I didn't know that, I knew at one time it was a county parking lot, but.
Yeah,
right, nobody
So,
was parking it.
nobody would park there, but yeah, them would be your other options right there, I think, would be the city parking lot behind the 911 and, what's over here, and the library at that point. So, okay. Any
You
other
need a
discussion?
motion or anything?
Well, is it, I think at that point, I would like to have something that would say that, I mean, on our part,
I'll make a motion
I think we should.
to reach an agreement with the city to pave the city parking lot to, Easter County employees at our expense for the labor and material.
what's worth, they haven't purchased it yet, have they?
No, not that it's pretty much a done deal. So, second on that?
A second, yeah, I think so. I
And,
think you said we'll work together on it.
Yeah, I think he's, and again, we'll put long-term agreement on that. And, so, I would certainly, on behalf of the commissioners, based off the fact that and let's, and that we'll put on, based off the fact that the county council would support it with, because it's gonna take the money from them. So, at that point, I would make that unanimous. And so, we will, and I guess leave that up to the council right now, how you would do that.
Anybody want to move that we agree to support?
Motion to approve.
Robert Peacock seconds, I would.
I would second that.
Robert did.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, he beat you, Wayne. Any questions or discussion on the motion?
I'm just pleased to see that there's some dialogue between the county and the city, and, I'm pleased to see that, and, maybe this is, a start of
Good stuff.
collaboration with each other as we move forward. I think that's a good sign, so, yeah, I'm in favor of yes.
Okay, all in favor? Motion carried, 7-0.
All right, next thing up here, and the last thing that we got actually on the agenda right here is, the Dietrich Building, and I know that, we've had, the 2 appraisals done. And again, we just talked here a minute ago, and we've talked about, monies, and, whether we can do what we can do. One thing that, and I asked Mike, and Mike, I know that you was looking at, I know we talked about doing something at the, even at the, John Jones Center, and I we've not got anything back as far as a figure on that as I know of in paper, have we?
Yeah, I have a
Okay,
$220,000 to do exactly what the 4-H wanted out there, take up 2 bays, and
okay, and that's,
that was with the same company who did the health department.
and that just takes out the 4-H down there, correct?
That takes 4-H out, yeah.
Okay, $220,000.
Greg said, when Greg was still here, he was saying that temporarily he could move EMA in the front part of his. Now that would eliminate some of those meetings that people have in there using that space, but maybe they can find another space to have their meetings. So, and I don't know what kind of meetings he was having, but there were some meetings, I guess, people would have out there in the front part of the 911 center.
And I know this is there's a couple of options, and I'm gonna be honest, I'd like to keep this option right here open for now.
Yeah.
On the Dietrich Building, but there's another option that I think is coming pretty quick that may we need to do something. There's no doubt we're gonna have to do something. I'm gonna, I think we will try to do that in a way as I think it's gonna be the cheapest on the county as far as what we can do to alleviate the problems we've got. But there's 2 or 3 aspects of this. Whether or not we can move out just the 4-H, or where we can move out the 4-H and the probation. Might be able to do that. My opinion is if you can move all the probation and the 4-H out of here, it frees up a lot more space downstairs for your magistrate to have for their court that they can have down there. And it also does something else in this courthouse. Again, like Donnie said a while ago, you have 40 people a day going through community corrections. You've got over 100 a day coming through here for probation, and I think you take 500 to 600 people out of this courthouse. As far as in the conditions we're living in today, it drops your chances of bringing in COVID or anything else. I think is a lot less. So that's something that we're looking at. So I'd like I say right now, I'm in favor of keeping this on the burner, but there is another option or two, and I'm going to go with I would be in favor of the cheapest option because of the money we're at to fix our problems. That's going to allow us to do what we need to do for the least amount of money, because I think it's very important we guard that money.
And it's just not those officers. They want the upstairs moved too, where the veteran service officer is and all that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not honestly sure right now I want to purchase anything.
And that's why me too. I mean, I'm looking at it the same
need's
way.
there, but the crisis is here. And I'm going along what we talked about on hard freeze and all that. Now, I'm not too sure we just shouldn't shut a whole lot of spending down till we know where we're going.
Did anybody get an estimate on the remodeling, what it would take to move them out to the old health department building?
Yes, John.
Yeah, of course, the building's ours.
Right.
But you could figure $75,000 to fix it up, and maybe up to 100. And they were very happy with that when I showed it to them. And I think it's a good idea. But then again, I'm going to go back to what I just said a minute ago. I'm not, as much as they need it, I haven't had a lot of pressure to do anything on this. Matter of fact, very little, except for the beginning when this all started a year ago. And they may not like it. I'm all for just nothing for a while. And we may lose this opportunity. I hate that. But I'm concerned, like everybody in this room, about where we're going to be in 6 months or a year from now.
Well, let me stick my nose in a place where it doesn't belong probably, but we ran into this situation with John Jones Building. When you get an estimate on a building that you're looking at, that you're going to open up to the public, don't forget that you got to meet state specifications that can be very expensive. And we got blindsided by that John Jones Building, because none of us knew at that time, but we're very well now, that state tells you have to do certain things with your wiring, and your code and all that stuff, and it may be more than 75. And I'm not voicing an opinion on which one.
Well, I had
I'm
a
in
contractor
favor of.
look at, that's the numbers he gave.
Now, let's be
You talking
clear,
about- I'm talking
let's
about
be
the
clear.
hotel, I'm sorry.
I know, but I'm.
Yeah, you know, we're talking on the health department.
I know it is, but same thing, John
The old
Jones
house.
Building was a public building when we bought it. And
Yeah.
when we bought it and took it over, and
Different
all
story.
that different things, so going from the health department to 4-H with kids and stuff, I don't know what's involved, I just wanted to make you understand that
Yeah.
when you bring something to us, be sure that you've gone through all the things that the state is interested in.
I agree.
Well, my take on the Dietrich Building is that it's a no-go for me, because, 4-H, when 4-H kids come downstairs, there's parents bringing those kids and everything else, and there's absolutely zero parking over there. And yeah, you can utilize the library park or whatever, but if you're talking about a standalone building, you need to be able to have standalone parking too, in my opinion. The other part of it is what it appraised for is a price that would be on the building. Then you're not even talking construction costs to change it to what you want it to be. So that's why I went to the John Jones Building as a building that we already own. And instead of the county buying another property, we own the property and just utilizing what we have. And at the $220,000 ticket, I know it's a lot of money, and you know, that's another story with the courts, but we have to do it, or we seem to have to do it. But I'd rather buy or remodel something that we already own, and there's plenty of parking out there. There's plenty of expansion out there for anybody that wants it. So I think if we're going to own a building, I think we need to utilize it. So I would never be for the Dietrich Building.
And I never intended, we never actually made a solution on this, but I never was thinking about moving the 4-H over there. I was thinking about moving them out here.
I've never heard that.
And the other offices were, so.
I guess my question is-
And with John Jones, if I'm hearing you right, that would be a 4-H building. We'd still have to find places to put these other things, which puts us in a position of, are we gonna buy, or we're gonna use what we got, or we're gonna keep adding on out there?
Well, that's the first I ever heard that we were moving for that probation order, because I didn't know probation was ever in the mix.
We talked about that. I know, maybe we didn't talk enough, but we talked about that earlier.
Yeah, that's
The other foot of the probation, and this is my 2 cents on that, is that we're paying for security in this courthouse. If you move probation out of this courthouse, wherever you move it, you're gonna create another security situation where they're gonna want security wherever they go. So, in turn, that's gonna be another factor and another cost. So just think about that when you start moving probation out of the courthouse, so.
But I'll reiterate what Bob said, we gotta look at the work and what's the cheapest. If it's 4-H, fine, or if it's John Jones, fine. If it's these two options, fine. But then again, nothing might not be a bad idea right now.
Well, I'm all for that too.
Well,
John, the old health department, wouldn't it make sense to get VA out there beside the VA hospital?
I had VA look at it. Here's what I did. I took 4-H out there and we talked about the possibility. And 4-H knew this, maybe putting the backside room for VA and the 4-H have the front side. So it's a possibility to put both of them out there. But that never was decided. It was just an open possibility. So yes, that was thought about.
Well, it's less steps, that's less coming into the courthouse.
There's a
Your veterans are getting older,
There's a
and I think
ramp,
it'd be
there's a back
better.
exit, it can be done, it would make it a little bit more difficult for 4-H, but they understood that could be done.
Speaking of that, I'm not familiar with it, is there office space in the VA building out there that we could even?
I think,
put an
I
office
don't
in there?
know.
maybe I'm wrong, I thought we discussed that somewhere along the line and there was some issue,
I think you're right, John.
Somewhere else
Something
in-
come up that they couldn't do.
There was I don't know where maybe it was in our meeting with you or something, I don't remember.
It's never been.
And it may be-
done with commissioners.
It'd be something to
Maybe
look
we
at.
could,
It'd be something to look at.
but you'd have to pay rent.
Yeah, I think you're right. Okay.
And this we've owned it.
We already own this,
Yeah.
yeah.
And we own John Jones Bowl.
Again, here's the deal with the corner, as everybody knows about. There's a twofold, in my opinion, two options there with the corner. Is that, actually there's three, because at one time, Jerry Buchanan and I went to the old John Jones Building to see if we could utilize the space out there for him to build him a corner room. Then Kelly Robbins actually went to the CFO at the hospital, and they came up with a plan to utilize two hospital rooms, and they were going to give that to the coroner to be able to have a room out there where he can have a cooler and table and do autopsies out there. And the reason for the autopsies here locally versus what it used to be for years past is that the state of Kentucky's medical examiner quit doing autopsies for southern Indiana. So in turn, there's a traveling pathologist that goes around and charges us X amount of dollars. If he comes to a funeral home, X amount of dollars if we have to take it to him. So there's a cost-driven factor here. So in turn, and I'm talking again with the CFO, trying to get him to go back to the two rooms at the hospital, which would be, in my opinion, great for us and still be a benefit to them. The other part of that is if they don't go for that, we're probably going to have to use the old health department for a coroner's facility, and with some modifications, it could easily be used there. So we want to keep that to your back burner too.
One thing I have to bring up on that right there, and I don't know if it's a possibility, but it's kind of been mentioned and kicked around. If it would be a possibility of building a pretty nice, or creating a pretty nice coroner's room, to where this traveling person, that instead of him traveling
Oh, that's what he did.
all over, well, what I'm saying is making this like a regional place to where, just like they used to take everybody to Louisville, that they would come here and the county would receive anything from that.
Everybody around us has more either built into the hospital or just like Washington County, for instance, I think they built a room for
Did they?
that.
So it wouldn't be any advantage, you wouldn't think so?
Nobody else need that service.
Okay, okay. All right.
We're in a catch 99 here. Like I said, I've never,
Yeah.
my time here on earth, never seen it, so
Okay.
it's gonna be something new.
All right,
Speaking
look.
of the coroner, we didn't discuss them in our pandemic pay stuff. I think they need to be addressed too, because they have definitely had exposure.
If it could be done because they're elected and we can't change their pay.
No, their deputies are not
Their
elected.
deputy, okay, so not the actual coroner
Right.
itself, but the deputy, okay, gotcha. I just thought about it being
Making sure
elected.
that's in his budget for that extra time too, so.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so we'll leave this on the burner right here
Pay regardless
for
of
now
how it-
and move forward. All right, before we, that's the last one on the agenda here. Before we get out of here, well, on the behalf of the commissioners, I'll allow you any time here to comment or anything, and then we'll let you do the same with yours. How's that? So, John, you got anything?
No, sir.
What about you, Mike?
No.
I do, real quick. Said this the other night, at the meeting, we have an opportunity and I think we're 100%, I've been guaranteed this week, but I think we're in on this deal, but the CARES Act, the Farmers to Families program that the USDA is involved in, that they're spending $3 billion to purchase food and make food boxes. I was actually in contact with a company in Evansville, Indiana, that we thought was going to get a contract to do that, and they didn't. So it kind of fell through, and I kept digging, and I found McFarling Foods out of Indianapolis, I believe it is. They did get a contract, and they have put 50-pound food boxes together, and we will receive the first truck Wednesday, this next Wednesday, supposedly at around 12 o'clock. 550 boxes of 50-pound of food in the box. We will, and that will be at the Rock, just south of the high school there on 31 here in Scottsburg. And on Thursday, around noon, we will receive the second truck, and that will be at the, got that set up at the Austin Fire Department, and there will be 550 boxes on it. So we should be able to help in the neighborhood of 1,100 families out next week with, and the food boxes contain pre-cooked chicken nuggets, pre-cooked pulled pork barbecue, pre-cooked bacon, milk, potatoes, oranges, and I think a 5-pound bag of onions, which not being overkill for me, but that's what it is. But anyway, and this program is designed to run through December the 31st of this year. And talking with the people on that we're getting this from is this. What I've asked for is these 2 trucks to be brought every week. And so hopefully we're going to be able to get 2 truckloads, semi-loads every week. But again, it is a government program, and there's a lot of, this is a learning curve because the USDA's just got into this and trying to get, they said, if we can get the food to us, we can get it to you. But we got to make sure that we're going to get it from where they're getting it from. So it may not, you know, it may not, there may be some bugs to work out, but once it's up and running, they pretty well guaranteed me that we would have 2 trucks a week throughout the end of the year.
So I got an email from Farm Bureau with an application for farmers to fill out, like if they have vegetables, if they have meat, you know, whichever animal they have. So if you guys hear anything like that, tell them to get on the USDA side.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of 4-H kids and farmers are being stuck with a lot of, so they're buying those too right now.
Sure, and that's so I think it's a good thing. But anyway, Wednesday at noon, we will offload this off the back of the truck. So you know, anybody that wants to show up and help, we'll take your help. How's that? And then Thursday,
eligible for that?
It's anybody.
Oh.
Anybody. Now, with that being said, and I'm gonna suggest this. I mean, I'm gonna suggest this. With that being said, we may all know somebody that is, for whatever reason, elderly or can't get out, or just scared to get out. You know, if there's somebody sitting out there that you know of, get us a name. And you know what? I'm not opposed of even delivering some myself, but I think we owe it to them people to, you know, that can't get there to pick up the food. And the only other thing I think, and Mike made, I think, reference to this, and we talked about this, I think, you know, it's very hard to police these kind of things, but I think we can certainly ask for a residence of Scott County and to make sure that they are at least a resident of Scott County. And I can't look at any of you and tell you what your needs are, the same as you can't look at me. But I can say, hey, you know, it is for Scott County residents.
Well, you can check their license plate on their car.
Yeah, and I think I think at that point, if you're a Scott County resident, it's open to anybody. Just to be honest, you know, I think that's the only way we can do it. Yeah.
I did think of something. This would be something the council would want to know about. We are, the possibility, we don't know for sure if we work this out, there's a Venture Logistics is wanting to start parking their tractors on our property and pay rent to us. And I turned it over to Bob Houston, because our last meeting, the guy we had on speakerphone didn't really make a lot of sense, but if we can work this out, probably over 100,000 coming in, about 120,000 a year coming in, just on rent.
Where is this at?
Parking on our property where you're.
Well, that's the kind of
where the
question.
park is the issue.
Yes, and what?
How much damage would be done, and
Yeah.
there are a lot of issues. But anyway, I have contacted our attorney to get with them, and I still haven't got you guys those numbers, but I will, to try to work out details, so we can work out something that would be beneficial to us, if we do it. But I think I figured out about $120,000 additional revenue coming in, just off rent.
My thought is on this and thought about it, if it can come to be, and that was kind of the thing the other night. I think we're probably looking more up at the, Just property, and my thought would be is where we cleaned that on the left, and we may have to, and again, we may have to go in and put some rock in there and make a parking lot, but I'm not opposed to do that if they're agreeing to pay what they're saying they'll pay and do that in a long-term contract. I think it would be, you know, I wouldn't be a bit opposed to that. I mean, because it would bring somewhere in that $115,000, $120,000 a year range, I think.
But we're not there yet.
Yeah. But it's something we're looking at.
And I did talk to Houston this day, he's gonna contact me, try to work it. And you guys can call him, anybody, I reckon can call him. And, but I've asked Bob, because it was, the meeting didn't work very well at all, I didn't think so. Well, anyway, possibility, hopefully it'll come.
All right, with that, I will turn it over to Mike and any of your
Anybody on council got anything to say?
No, but I wanted to say, there is somebody starting some dumping of concrete and everything else, like what's out on, Boatman Road in Austin. Now they're starting to dump the same kind of stuff north of Kim's Body Shop on 31, just as you go into the Austin city limits. I
Actually,
think-
Roger Hawkins, I think we were somewhere in a meeting, Roger Hawkins stopped that, so.
No, that was in
No,
Austin.
he could have stopped.
He moved it over on the county
Boatman
side now.
Road.
That was, so you're talking north side, or east side of the road, or west side of the road?
East side of 31 now.
We're talking Kim's Body Shop.
Yeah, I know.
The ditch,
Where it was
the
before.
ditch is Austin, this
Just
side's
right
ours.
north of,
He's
That's
dumping
where,
them.
that's where Roger was talking before, because he,
Yeah.
so I thought that was in the county.
no, it was right there, because he said right, as you come into Austin there to the right where the power line goes through there.
Okay.
Well, he says that's ours, Roger.
I don't know if it is or not, but I know they said they stopped him and said you can't do that because it'll get into the ditch and that'll create a, but.
Well, the same thing is out on Boatman Road, just right before you get to where the bridge is, where Boatman Road becomes ours. It's just north of there, and that's in the city limits. And there's mountains of dirt and concrete and rock and everything else, and it has affected their ditch out there. So now, since he's been stopped there, yeah, he's starting to do it on 31 and he's going to Austin. Okay.
Thanks, I've had, you got it, Robert, got it. Randy?
Well, I just like to, when you talk about moving these offices, and I'd like to see a comprehensive plan. Okay, we need to move this office, and this office, and here's a suggestion for this, we move, or you can do it over here, and our preference is this, and that's the commissioners to do. And I got a thought about the John Jones, don't forget, we got 7 acres out there.
True, yeah.
And I, long-term, wouldn't be in my tenure, my time, but I like to think of that area there as a county government center. And instead of thinking, okay, we got a piece here, we got a piece here, let's think long-term about, you got the courthouse, we got to stay here, of course. Other than that, you got a county government center, and it's on Highway 31, and if you got any county business other than the courthouse, that's where you go.
Well,
Long-term, I'd like us to look at it, but with that mindset.
Okay.
I
County
think one of the
government.
reasons that probation, they was looking at this building over here, was because it's close to the court systems, which they're in court all the time, plus they have to go to the jail and meet with inmates, you know, so that was the only reason of having them close to the square.
It's all good thoughts.
Yeah, they take up a lot of room.
I don't
mean,
know.
they got downstairs office, upstairs office.
Yeah, they can take up a lot of
And they
space.
do need to be,
Probation.
they need to be close. But
I don't know
you
what
move
they-
somebody over there out there,
What is,
that don't have to be close.
You're talking about the Verizon tower that we entered in a contract with,
Yeah.
about, you know, Verizon is building a tower behind John Jones in there,
back on the back corner?
on the back far corner, and I don't know what kind of revenue, it's like $250,000 over the length of the contract. that we're gonna get from them, so. And they also said that if, and once again, you know, long-term, like Brandon's talking about, one day I'd like to see 911 out there in the corner, and they also said that we could utilize their tower if that happens, so.
County government center, folks.
There you go.
County government center.
I agree with you.
Come up with the money, we'll talk about it.
Oh,
I will entertain a motion to adjourn then.
I'll make that motion.
Second. We
All
are,
in favor, get up.
everybody in favor, get out. I will say, it's good to see you out and about.
Thank
Feel
you.
better?
Good to be here.
Feel better?
Just motion to
Good to see you
adjourn.
around.
Yeah,
Can
good
you
to
say
stay
that?
well.
Good, good.
Okay.
Good to see you around.
Me out on
Yeah.
this.
I've got you, you're on a separate group.
Yeah.
Second.
See y'all.
Take care.
I just want to know we are looking way to make money too.
Good meeting,
Good to see you around.
Good to be here, John.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We
Quarter, I think.
Are we all
I
set?
think it's.
I'll turn it off. Hang on.
At least one quarter.